Welcome everybody to Crypto Rosetta. My name is Savage. Today we're going to be having a look at MultiversX. This is going to be the higher time frame video. We will be accompanying this with a lower time frame video, which you can find up above. So check that out if you haven't already. Let's get into the charts and see what's going on. Okay, so on the macro here, there's two ways that we can potentially look at this structure. So the first way I'm looking at it is that we have a potentially completed move into this high with an A wave, in which case what we'd typically be expecting is a much deeper retracement. Now, the common area that we would be looking for here would be this 50% to the 786. And what this would mean is that we'd be looking for a more substantial corrective structure to the downside here, looking for ideally a three-wave move. Now, if we do see something like this looking to play out, like I said, I will be looking out for these lower target areas here, particularly this 0.618 area of this $7 is looking like a very interesting zone if we do actually see this play out in this way. If we take the trend-based time fib off of this low now, we need to also just be aware we don't have all the data here. So we don't have anything prior to July 2019. And what I'm looking for here is the time relationship here between this A wave and this potential B wave that we're going to get here. Now, 1-to-1 would actually look to push us into the 6th of April next year. And what I would be then expecting is that we see something like this as a bigger A, B, and then we see a C wave to the downside. Now, it is always possible that B waves can actually extend out past the time of this A wave, or alternatively there could be some data here that we don't have which pushes that 1-to-1 slightly over. So the idea here though would be that we're actually going to see a bigger corrective structure looking to probably maintain these highs here and then still see this continue to the downside, looking for some of these lower targets. Now, an alternate way of looking at this structure is that we could say that this is actually 1-2. This all becomes a wave 3, where this internal move is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with an extension in this wave 1. And then what we'd be looking for would be the potential that we could have this as a fourth wave. Now, this would be viable as a fourth wave for as long as we don't actually cross this 2211. If we do cross this level, then we have to just bear in mind that the fourth wave is not supposed to cross this wave 1. So if we do that, then the probability of this becoming a B wave is more likely, unless we have something like a diagonal taking place here, where this could be potentially something like an expanding diagonal pattern here, where we could see this actually look to form still in a 5-wave move to the upside after crossing this wave 1. But at the moment, I would say that, ideally we don't want to cross this wave 1 high, which, like I said, is sitting towards this 2255. Now, if we are looking at this idea of a fourth wave, we have a couple of ways we can count these internal waves here, but what we'd be looking for after completion would be a move up towards this 4,560 to this 1223. Now, this would be based off of coming into that 50%, but because we can't cross this wave 1, I'm actually going to change this and put this into this area that we are currently. So this would be 3,351 to this 1,081 level. Now, if we are looking at this potential, we'd want to start to see price reacting in the target box that we're currently sitting in. So we've already come down towards this 382 area, which is this 3889. And we're currently just below this level. If we do see price come back down deeper here, like I said, I don't want to really see it cross this wave 1 here, otherwise it becomes more likely the other counters in play. Now, within this as an A, B, and a C, what this would mean is that we have potentially a bigger move to the downside coming, but then at a later point, we could actually see this push up towards this 1-to-1 level, which would be this 8,380 zone. So we need to just be on the lookout for this idea that if we do see a bigger 3-wave structure down here, this could then still align with a bullish price action in the future if we do see something like this. Okay, so we're going to go in here now and we're going to discuss this move to the downside. Now, there's two ways that I'm looking at this structure. So we could argue that potentially from over here, we have this is 1, 2, this is 3, this is a fourth wave, and we could be looking for something like a diagonal pattern looking to complete this. Now, if we are looking at this as a diagonal pattern, what we could be looking for is that we need to see continuation down here, where we could see a bit more price action to the downside, where what we would say is that this is wave 1, 2, 3, 4, and what we're looking for is a 3-wave move to the downside. Now, in this area here, we have two options. So either this C wave could potentially already be in play, in which case we'd be looking for price to push down between this zone of this 121 to this 1382, sitting at this 2577 to this 2770. Now, if we do see something like that, this could align with pushing us down into this 0.618 of this previous wave. Now, if we do look to push down here, if we pass this 2158, this would invalidate the idea of the diagonal pattern here. And if we do look to push past this level here of this 1382, we need to be careful of this move becoming impulsive, where this could actually just become 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we could be looking for something like this to play out, rather, where this whole move becomes A, we get B, and then C at a later date. So need to be careful of this idea here. If we start to break down deeper here, potentially that could align with this whole move looking to extend to the downside. Now, the other targets lower down here would be this 2437, which would actually be our 786 and our 854 levels. So going to be keeping an eye on those two levels if we do exceed this area. Now, it is also possible here that we can look at this move slightly different, and what we could argue is that from the top end of this structure here, what we could have is rather that this is a W, X, Y, X, and a Z. Now, if we were looking at this in this potential way, what we'd be saying is that this is W, this is X, this is Y, and the way we would change this is we'd have to say that this was a three-wave move, effectively, with a very small B wave. I don't really like counting it this way, but it is still technically possible. If this is the case, this would then become our Y wave here. We'd look at this potentially as our X wave into this point, and then we'd be looking for this as a Z wave to the downside. Now, within this idea of this being a Z wave to the downside, what we could still see is that if we get this diagonal play out where this becomes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, this could actually form our A wave here. Then we see a three-wave move to the upside and then continuation down. So we need to be on the lookout for that if we do complete this diagonal until we actually start breaking back above this X wave high here. There is still that potential. We could still see price looking to push down at a later point. Now, it is also possible here, instead of looking at this as a diagonal, what we could say is that we just have this as W, X, and Y. Now, if this is just a WXY pattern into this low, what this would mean is that this could still form a bigger corrective structure. Now, we don't like to see a WXY in a Z wave, and what I'd be looking out for here is that if this is WXY here, what we could start to see is a bigger B wave pattern playing out to the upside. Now, in validation of this idea, once again, will be this high of this 63.99. If we do see just three waves to the upside and we look to push back up into this 786 to this 50%, which would be this 53.62 to this 42.33 level, we could still then continue to see another five-wave move to the downside after that point, because at the moment, we are looking for this potential of a diagonal to complete down here, but all we have now is currently three waves up, three waves down. And what I want to see is if we start to develop something like a five-wave move to the upside here, this could align quite nicely with the idea of getting a flat correction up into these areas before looking for this C wave down. Now, the key thing is that if this is W, X, Y, X, and Z to the downside, then potentially we have that possibility of actually protecting these areas of the fourth wave here, which would be this 2240. Now, if we are looking at this rather at that five-wave move to the downside, we could potentially look to break down beyond these zones, and that would then look to invalidate that idea of this being a fourth wave, unless we are looking at something like a diagonal pattern. So this is going to be crucial here. If we continue to stay below these highs here, we can potentially look for that continuation down, but we're right in the zone here of the Z wave. Now, the Z wave, the minimum requirement we would want to see is this 24.22. So if we do see something like this, where either this move becomes A, B, and then we get 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and we look to push down towards this 24.22 area, this could be enough to complete the move. But then, like I said, we do have possibilities here. We could see something along these lines where we see a bigger A, B, and a C pattern, where we could look to actually push down just beyond these points. So I'm going to be watching these levels and then seeing how we react from there. If we are looking at this as a fourth wave, what we would be anticipating is that after this corrective move completes, we'd start to see bigger five-wave structure to the upside, looking to break above these highs. If, however, what we see is something like that diagonal completing over here, and then we just get three waves back to the upside, this could then align with this idea here that we have a bigger ABC pattern, which could look to push us down, depending on how high we bounce with the B wave, towards this $9.18. Okay, so I'm going to leave the video there. I hope you found it useful. If you did, please smash the like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, turn on those bell notifications so you never miss a video. Leave us some feedback down below, and also in the description you will find a link to the Discord. Come check it out, it's free to join. Everyone have a great day. We will see you in the next one. Take care.